In this video, you're going to learn the 7 things that you're doing wrong at the doctor's office to make your blood pressure artificially too high. My name is Dr. Story. I've been a chiropractor for over 23 years. I'm going to give you some realistic advice based on my experience. Now, there are 7 things that you are probably accidentally doing that are causing your blood pressure to be artificially high at the doctor's office. Number 1, a full bladder. Did you know that if your bladder is full and you have to go to the bathroom, that can actually raise your blood pressure by 10 to 15 points? So you have to think about that you could go from a normal to an abnormal blood pressure just by having a full bladder. So, number 1, make sure and empty the bladder before you go into the doctor's office. Number 2, your feet are dangling rather than being solidly on the floor. Now, this is a common problem. You know, the exam tables that they have, unless you're 40 feet tall, your feet are going to be dangling off the edge of the table. Research has found that your blood pressure can actually go up 10-15 points if your feet are dangling. So this is a common thing, you know, that they rush you into the exam room, they have you pop up on the exam table, those exam tables are kind of high, your feet are dangling, and then they immediately take your blood pressure is now higher than it normally would. So if they're going to take your blood pressure and your feet are dangling, request that you sit in a chair where your feet can be solidly on the floor. Number 3, your legs are crossed. So let's say you're sitting there and you actually cross your legs. Research has shown that your blood pressure systolic can actually go up about 8 points on your blood pressure. So here's what you need to do. You need to, when you have your blood pressure taken, make sure your feet are solidly on the ground and do not cross the legs. Number 4, your arm is either dangling or you're holding it up using your muscular effort, or the doctor is not fully supporting the arm, or the nurse is not supporting the arm. This is actually a common problem because a lot of times when I was in school, we were taught to hold the person's forearm in our armpit and raise the arm up so it's level with the heart. So if the arm is not level with the heart, or you're using muscular effort to hold the arm up and you're not relaxing your arm, the blood pressure can go up about 8 points. So make sure the nurse or the doctor is fully supporting the arm. Number 5, making sure that the blood pressure cuff is completely on your bare arm. So if you were to apply the blood pressure cuff to my arm, it would start about here, and some of it would be on your bare skin and some of it would be on the shirt. It's important that the nurse or the doctor fully raise up the sleeve. They have found that if, depending on the thickness of the cloth of your shirt or your sweater, what ends up happening is the blood pressure can go up artificially 5 to up to 50 points on the systolic. Imagine that if you had a normal blood pressure of 120, if you had a thick shirt on and they took your blood pressure in that way, that the blood pressure could now be 170 over something. That's ridiculous. So patients who are taking their own blood pressure sometimes at home, it might be cold outside, you might want to be just, put it over the shirt. What difference can it make? It can make a difference between 5 to 50 points. So make sure every single time you have your blood pressure taken, it's always on the complete bare arm. Number 6, the wrong cuff size. Now, there's no excuse for this. The average arm is whatever it is, but the blood pressure cuffs have Velcro where you could use one blood pressure cuff for most arms. Now, I have a pediatric blood pressure cuff, and I have a fat person's cuff and a large person's cuff, where the bladder of the blood pressure cuff is just huge. That is rarely used. The average blood pressure cuff can be used for most individuals. Now, the key is to make sure when the blood pressure cuff is on that you can slip 2 fingers underneath, that it's secure enough but not overly tight before you start the machine. The wrong blood pressure cuff can make the difference between 2 to 10 points on your blood pressure. Number 7, talking when you're having your blood pressure taken. You should not be talking. You should actually be relaxing in your brain and not thinking about things. There has been some funny research, and it's not funny because it can raise your blood pressure 10 to 15 points, but where they ask someone to actually talk to them during the blood pressure exam, and they'll ask them to talk about controversial subjects or emotionally charged subjects. Well, of course your blood pressure goes up, but a person actually thinking those things can raise their blood pressure too. So you don't want your blood pressure to be artificially high. So when you're having your blood pressure taken, make sure and not talk. Now, I did a video, and I'll put the link down below, of how to normalize your blood pressure through a breathing process. Now, in that video, you'll see I'm actually talking to you while I'm having my blood pressure taken, simply because it's a video, it's YouTube. I'm trying to communicate how it's working. It would be extremely boring for you to be watching me have my blood pressure taken while my feet are planted on the ground, while my arm is at 90 degrees, and I'm just sitting there relaxing. That would be boring. So I was talking a little bit. Ignore that because it's just for entertainment and educational purposes. But nonetheless, don't talk when you're having your blood pressure taken. If you follow these 7 steps, you will have a more accurate reading at the doctor's office so that you'll get an idea of what your resting blood pressure is. If you thought this video was interesting, give me a thumbs up. If you hit thumbs down, you made a mistake. You hit the wrong one. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, ask in the comment section below.